back, and we just finished watching 1960's Inherit the Wind, directed by Stanley Kramer and starring Spencer Tracy, Frederick March, Gene Kelly, among others. This is loosely based on the real-life case of the Scopes monkey trial from 1925, in which a Tennessee high school teacher, John Thomas Scopes, was accused of teaching evolution in violation of a Tennessee state law. In this, based off the stage play, we see that the high school teacher, played by Dick York, Bertram T. Cates, is being, I guess, arrested at the beginning.
He's arrested and he's actually held in
jail.
In county jail for violating this law.
Yeah,
Teaching Darwinism.
Teaching something other than creationism in the school.
So, because I don't know why, but schools back then just wanted to teach religion in classrooms.
They thought it was important to just teach creationism. That everybody spouted from God.
Yes.
And that was it.
And there was no room for science.
Right.
G, impressions. What did you think of the movie?
I thought it was good.
What did you like?
Do you mean my favorite part?
Sure, your favorite part, or
anything you
came away with.
You came away that made you think, oh, that's interesting, or God, how twisted and backwards the past was.
Not so much the past, really.
Yeah, that's the one to discuss.
I liked when Brady died.
He did die spectacularly in a torrent of crazy flagellation and
gibberish
spouting. Why did you find that scene impressive?
I just liked it. He deserved it.
Because
he was wrong. People all have their own opinions. They shouldn't be subjected to one.
Fair enough. Olive Jean, did you like the movie?
Uh-huh.
What did you like about it?
It was funny.
It was funny. That's an interesting take. Some bits were funny. The two lawyers were dueling and roasting each other, which was funny.
Yeah, Gene Kelly had some good one-liners.
Absolutely. A really interesting turn for Mr. Gene Kelly in this. More dramatic than we usually see him in. He's usually the song and dance man in most movies. In this, he plays E.K. Hornbeck of the Baltimore Sun newspaper, a very jaded paperman who is here in heavenly Hillsborough to, I guess,
basically cover the story, and also his paper is funding Cates' defense. They're the ones who hire Henry Drummond to defend him, and they put up money for any bail, which comes into play for Drummond, but surprisingly never for Cates. He has to spend the entire movie in jail.
Well, I think because he violated an actual law in the books, whereas I think Drummond's crime was less. It was just contempt of court.
No, but even when people are on trial for murder and extortion, it's like, okay, we're going to set bail or not set bail.
True.
He didn't get bail at all. He had to stay in jail. But then again, this is not an accurate courtroom drama in the slightest, because there's a lot of speeches. There weren't even any closing arguments. There weren't even any opening arguments. It was pretty much, the courtroom was in service to the plot, but what you did get to see was brilliant. I mean,
yes,
great performances by everybody, and the
dialogue.
Speeches, it's amazing how a film that was made in 1960 about a trial that happened in the 20s is completely relevant today.
Yes,
I mean, you don't really hear much about a fight between religious types and evolution so much, other than your crazy aunt on Facebook or something like that, or whatever random kooks are out there. But the whole concept of fanaticism is, and the evils and the dangers of fanaticism are completely on display in this film, and they hold true today more than ever.
Absolutely. The play, written by Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. Lee, was made into script form by Nedrick Young and Harold Jacob Smith. And again, I absolutely 100% agree with you. Some of the stuff that was said in this film is absolutely chilling because it absolutely resonates today. And it's a great example of just towing that line of fanaticism and zealotry and idolatry. And just, there were scenes in this that were just beyond the pale, like when the townspeople with their picketed signs are saying that they're gonna hang Cates and Drummond and
the thing that was
these are Christian people,
and the thing
people
that
that believe in the good book.
And the thing that was like telling about that was the evolution of that, because in the beginning it's the chorus is "Give me that old time religion." Right. And it's just basically some sort of hymnal that you sing in church. It's not really harmful, not really calling for anybody to be killed. But then it gradually, the song starts changing. And then when Brady shows up, it's, if it's good enough for Brady, it's good enough for me. The zealotry starts. And then it just escalates to the point where it's, we'll hang Cates from an old apple tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, what is going on?
Yes.
You know, these people went from, we're good Christians to, we want to murder that man.
Right, because
we want to murder him, we want to murder his lawyer, and we want to tie him up to a tree and hang him, and we're going to sing about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and which is funny, it's like an evolution.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Evolution, as Brady would like to say.
It's just, I mean, some of it was just terrifying if you think about it, because it really goes to that whole, I think we've mentioned this before, the whole cult of personality of just blind worship. I mean, it's this way or no way, and you see that today. I'm sure, like you said, the crazy aunt on Facebook or whatever.
She was that old lady in the stands who was screaming, "You're not a teacher anymore!"
Right. And those are the loudest voices, and especially now, especially with social media, it's the world out there is bad enough, but then when you have it bombarded with this extra layer of just hate, basically. I mean, it's funny because they're all touting about being these good Christian people that follow the good word of the Lord, but they have so much hate and intolerance in their hearts, and just kind of fear and loathing and ignorance.
Fear of any kind of progress, fear of, I mean, even in the beginning, you see that the town, I guess it's that meeting of the town elders or whatever, and you see some of them are just like, this is bad for us. We look like we look like we're in the Middle Ages.
Yeah. And
other people are like, I don't care, you know, those big city people, and in my mind, coastal elites.
Sure.
Those big city folks. I don't care what one guy even says. I don't care what foreigners and people from big cities think about my town.
Right. And I think it's interesting because then you see the progression of people. One of the more, I guess, gut-wrenching scenes is when Spencer Tracy, who does an amazing job as Henry Drummond, gives a speech when he's being held in contempt of court, and the father of the boy who drowned decides to put up his farm, for collateral for this person. And it's interesting because the camera shows the parents of the deceased child, and it comes out that the Reverend, also played really well by Claude Atkins, what did he say? Like, this child was going to go to hell.
He basically said to the parents, said to the parents that since this child, like, their child died in an accident. You know, it was pretty much one of the catalysts that shattered Cates' faith and made him leave the church was he knew this boy. He was a very bright boy. Possibly he wanted to be a scientist when he grew up. And one day he went swimming and he drowned. And during the funeral, the Reverend
Jeremiah Brown
basically said he was never baptized, so he is damned. He is damned to hell. And that broke Kate's. And he basically says it. He says that religion is supposed to comfort. Not condemn,
or instill fear.
And that was, and you see, because Brady's the one who put Kate's fiance on the stand that brought this information to light.
Who the fiance also happens to be Reverend Jeremiah Brown's daughter.
And that is one of the. It's like a turning point where you see that Brady he's gone. He is like an attack dog. He is like a rabid dog when it comes to this. And that was another sort of aspect of this movie that sort of showed what fanaticism can do to a person, because there was a point in time where Drummond and Brady were friends.
Right.
He's still very friendly with Brady's wife. They get along. Even there are scenes when the two of them are sitting together and they get along. And he even says that he actually campaigned for Brady when he ran for president a couple of times.
And I feel like, full disclosure, well, I don't know, like, spoilers, I mean, this movie is now 60 years old. God damn it. For a movie that's 60 years old, at the end, the character of Matthew Harrison Brady, played by the lovely Frederick Marsh, passes away, and the end scene is Drummond and EK having this conversation in the abandoned now courtroom, and he says, Spencer Tracy's character basically calls Brady a giant, because here was a man who lived by the law, practiced the law, defended the law, but then I guess with time, maybe with age, it's interesting. I think
the thing was that he was once a good man. The two of them even remarked.
Well, I think Brady was still a good man, but it was just his notion of good and evil became so, what's the word I'm looking for? It became very black and white. There were no gray areas as far as Brady was concerned. He was livid that the court was going to allow Cates to walk on just $100.
That's what the fanaticism does.
Right,
it turns what could be a good man into a bad person.
Sure, and you see that devastation in the wife's eyes.
Yeah.
In that scene where Rachel had come she comes, and then also in the final court battle, or the final day of the court case. So yeah, just top to bottom, top-notch cast, amazing writing on this, amazing writing. I urge everyone, this is currently streaming on Amazon Prime. It's one of those movies that I actually was looking for it a few months ago, and it wasn't on, and it is now. I encourage everyone to watch this. It's rated PG, or 7 and up, I think it said at the beginning.
Yeah, something like that.
So anyone can watch this. Watch this with your children. Watch this with your spouses. Watch this with your friends. Just watch it.
And you will be surprised at how
timely,
absolutely relevant it is to our current
situations.
Yeah.
I had seen this movie before. It's been a while since I've seen it. I am absolutely bowled over at just the amazing script by Young and Smith. Again, like you mentioned, the writing in this is so timely. I think an added thing, or at least to my mind, filming this movie in black and white also gives it that very one way or the other kind of tonality. Again, the character of Brady is very much a staunch believer. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you have to also make way for just people having their own opinions, people adhering to maybe science and not just blind faith. And we're not decrying blind faith. I think it's great. I think it's impressive when people have this blind faith that guides them, that leads them, hopefully to make good choices in life and be good and decent people. But at the same time, sometimes this fanaticism leads to more nefarious things and more nefarious thoughts and more nefarious actions.
I don't equate blind faith with just faith. It's blind, to me.
Yes.
To me, blind faith is, I believe in this even though horrible stuff is happening. That's blind faith. Faith is, to me, is faith in something, generally faith in something that's good, but not once you see that it is no longer good or it's doing something bad, you can judge it or be critical of it or try and change it or change your own beliefs. Blind faith is fanaticism. It's pure fanaticism. And it's right or wrong, this is how it's got to be.
Oh, agreed to a point. I mean, I think you can have blind faith in something, and your dad has blind faith in the Yankees season after season, no matter what. So
no, my dad has faith that the Yankees will do their best.
I feel like he's more blind faith guy.
A person with blind faith wouldn't believe it when the Yankees lose a game.
That's true. I guess you're
that
right.
Is fanaticism.
That's
that
true.
is if they lost, which they didn't, it's because the other team cheated.
All right, so I guess we should be talking about the Patriots then.
No, we should be talking about this movie.
We should be talking about this movie. Yes, we veered off into the tangent again. On a scale of 1 to 10, G, what do you think?
I give this movie an 8.5.
8.5. Olive G, what do you think of this movie? What would you give it?
I give it a 7.
A 7. Okay. What do you think, G? Do you think blind faith fanaticism is bad?
Yes.
Yes. Why?
Because you shouldn't have blind faith. You should have good reasons.
Good reasons to believe in things.
You should be able to think for yourself.
Think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Impressions. What do you think? 1 to 10.
I'd give this film a 9.
And this was your choice.
This was my choice. I saw this. I saw this film when I was young, but I would say maybe a year ago or a little over a year ago. I think I saw it again on television, and I was just sitting there, just blown away by the dialogue and how much it reflected what was going on in our world. That speech that he gives during when he's about to be held in contempt, and where I don't know the exact wording of it, but he says fanaticism and ignorance are always moving, and they must be fed.
Yes,
and
God, that's such a great speech.
That is like absolutely just, it's so true. It's so true. I can't believe it was written in 1960. It's crazy. It's such a good film. I think everybody, especially now, needs to see this film again. It's so good and relevant. And everybody's performance is great. Everybody. I love this movie.
Yeah, it really is just an impressive piece of cinema. Stanley Kramer had a long career of just really lovely movies. I was actually looking for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and this popped up, and I agree with you, it's timely, it's a movie that will move you, that will really speak to you, make you think, hopefully, maybe make you have those conversations, whether they be comfortable, uncomfortable or not, just really deep dive into what is it that makes us go down this road of, I guess, blind faith.
Yeah. Which is a kind word for fanaticism.
Which is a very kind word, fanaticism. And you can apply it to many things, not just creationism and Darwinism. You can also apply it to sports. You could apply it to politics.
Especially in today's day.
Yes, you can apply it to politics. You can apply it to even we're going
wearing
through...
a mask.
Wearing a mask, yes.
During a pandemic.
During a pandemic. Yeah, this movie is going to stay with me for a while. I urge everyone out there that's listening to please watch it. It's
on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon Prime, hopefully for a while. Yeah, that's it from us. Oh, I would actually give it a 9.5. I think it's just so amazing. The performances were out of this world. It's funny because I like I said, I too have seen it in the past. I don't think I've seen it in maybe like the last 7 years. Actually, within this time, I think there was another version with Jack Lemmon and George C. Scott that was like a made-for-TV movie that I'd seen. Good, not as good as this. This is just beyond anything.
Do you like this or To Kill a Mockingbird better?
That's an interesting question. They're both amazing pieces of history based off book or play sources, and they're both timely and important and relevant, and I think everyone should watch them. I'm such a big fan of storytelling, and especially when storytelling shines a light on something that just isn't right in the world. So I love them both. I don't know if I have a preference to one or the other. I think they're both just cinematically so important to the history of cinema, but not even that, just the history that kind of mirrors the world. I mean, To Kill a Mockingbird is a great example of, again, just blind justice where people assume something about an individual based on his skin tone.
Well, that's not really blind justice. That's injustice.
It's injustice. Sorry, did I say? I meant
justice
blind.
is supposed to be blind. We want blind.
Right. No, I meant injustice. Sorry, I misspoke. So in that sense, that's such a powerful piece of cinema, and the book too was such a revelation to me as a young person. And this, I've never read the play, I've never seen the play, but this movie is something that does stay with you because you question, how do people get on this road? How do they become so fervent in their belief that this is the way, that there is no other way, that they reject anything that doesn't fit that little box that they hold up? I mean, there are people that don't believe in God, and that's fine. And then there's people that believe without question, without anything, that there is a God. And both those views have a place in the universe, and both those views should be respected. And it's unfortunate when one barks louder than the other and doesn't allow for there to be more to life. I mean, in this movie, you see the Kate's character basically saying, I want to teach these kids things that they will use in the real world. And I think somebody else in that scene in the beginning with all the powerful men in the town, where somebody basically says, like, I want my kid to go to college, and they're not going to accept creationism as an acceptable...
Yeah. They're not going to take. They're not going to give them a test where it says, what did God do?
Right. Exactly. So everything has its place in the universe. I believe. I've always believed that, and I think that
what doesn't have the place is when your belief basically says, if you don't believe me, then you have to die.
Or you're wrong.
And there's a scene like that's another good scene. When the Reverend is giving that sort of sermon to the town, and it starts out. And
that was such an interesting scene because he really goes like nuts. Yeah, and
he starts
Brady
out,
is the one that pulls him back.
And the thing is, he starts out basically going through the faith. You believe in good Lord. You believe in this. Do you believe in this?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, on the drop of a hat, it's. And we must condemn those that don't.
Right.
We
and
must,
those that
and he is like getting more and more
fire and brimstone
that these people need to be condemned, these people need to be destroyed. And that's when Brady actually has to stand up, because he sees that this is getting out of hand. And it's after that scene that the song changes,
right,
to, you know, I'm gonna take kids and tie them to, or hang them from an old apple tree.
Yeah.
And
So
it's amazing, like, you see where the good faith, and then suddenly
mob mentality.
You don't believe in me? You don't believe what I believe?
You're wrong.
You are wrong, and you must be destroyed. There is no place for you. You are my enemy.
Right.
You can't be just, we just disagree.
Right.
You are my enemy, and I must destroy you now.
Right. And that's the scary part, because
that's the scary part. Yeah.
Because let's be honest, there's a lot of that now.
That just leads to nothing getting done, everybody getting messed up. It just leads to destruction.
Yes. Again, I think I highly, highly recommend this movie to everyone. I think I'm going to try to splice together that little snippet of the speech that Spencer Tracy gives right before he's held in contempt of court, because I think it's such... The writing in that is so powerful and moving, and just...
Delivery, everything.
And the delivery, everything about that scene is just... It's one of those speeches that should go down in the books for all ages. I never learned about... I went to film school. I never learned about this movie in film school. I think I happened upon it one night, maybe. I think PBS did, like, movies some Saturday nights after, like, the British comedies. And I think that's the first time I saw this movie. And it has stuck with me for decades now. And I am eternally grateful to...
I think I learned about it, like, in history class.
You know what? I never knew about the Scopes monkey trial. It wasn't something that was taught in my school.
The defenders of the Scopes monkey trial were two famous defenders. One of them was a man who did try and run for president a couple of times and failed. I forgot the actual names of the people.
Darrow.
Clarence Darrow, yes.
Was the...
he was the Spencer Tracy.
He was and William Jennings Bryan. Okay. Yes. Yeah, just amazing piece of cinema, amazing storytelling, spectacular acting by everyone, even the minor characters, even the crazy broad that screams every once in a while.
She had like craziness. She had like a sewing basket on her head.
I don't know what was going
on.
She wasn't sane. But yeah, I'm still reeling from the experience of watching this movie.
Yeah, it's a film that's going to make you think and make you realize, oh my God, what is going on in this world?
Yes, absolutely, I agree. Okay, that's it. I think that's it from us. I urge everyone, I don't really do this a lot, but please watch this movie. I really, please watch it. Please have a conversation about it, even if it's uncomfortable. We have to start realizing that we're all in this together. The things that we think separate us are insignificant. Everyone's allowed to have a voice. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion. To think, to be respected as a human being, not to be belittled. I just wish there was more kindness in the world. I really do. It's exhausting at this point. It really is. I don't know what's going on outside anymore. Some days I'm just like, what have we become? That's it from us.
Okay.
We'll talk to everyone soon. Good night.
Good night.
Night.